One, the living legend herself, Miss Jade the Maverick, the one and only Simmons.
Oh, wow. Well,
I wish we had a band behind us.
I know.
You know, I can hear it in my head though.
I'm going to take you guys on the road with me. I love this energy. This is good stuff. Thank you for having me. This is so awesome.
This is such a privilege. This is like prophecy in the making. I couldn't ask for anything more. Man, listen. Okay, let me just start here. Okay. So this is perfect. We had asked Miss Jade Simmons to be a guest speaker in our like career themed month, right? And there was no one better to be a part of this than her. I met Jade back in 2019. She was slaying the stage, okay, at the Worcester Women's Conference, right? Leadership Conference. And I just see this figure on stage who is so bold, so amazing, so gorgeous. I've just never seen anyone. She had like 6-inch heels, rhinestones, shiny blue jacket, blonde, black spiky hair. I'm like, oh my gosh. And she's in a professional corporate setting? Oh, blasphemy.
Scandal.
You don't have a suit on?
Where's the cat?
Yeah, I know.
But she came out she just killed it. There's really no other way to say it. I mean, she knows her discipline. She knows her work. She knows what she does, and she knows how to articulate it to the audience and being able to captivate people and getting them excited about what's next in their life and what their purpose is and how to activate that. And I was like, she slayed that. She did that. And so I just like followed her behind and I was like, ma'am, excuse me. I'm kind of in love with you.
She did not fangirl like that at all.
In my head, I was trying to keep it cool. Don't get it twisted.
She was so cool. She was so
I got to
cool.
be professional on the outside, but on the inside, I'm totally fangirling it. And she just became my mentor because she followed the voice of God. God told her mentorship. I reached my hand, I raised my hand, and she became my mentor, and she became the biggest blessing. Y'all, listen, okay? When it is hard in these streets to find a powerful woman of color who is willing to pass the baton, who is willing to take you under her wing, teach you everything that she knows, but then also wants you to be just as great, if not better. It is hard in these streets. So when I didn't find her actually. God just, she just came down like a beautiful angel on the stage. And I took it and I grabbed it and I hung on, and she did not disappoint. Y'all, when I tell you this woman was worth the wait, all the rejection I got from other women that I looked up to and asked them to, mentor me or give me advice, I was rejected so much. Honestly, it was nothing new. But for Miss Jade to come, take me under her wing, recruit me, y'all don't know. Y'all don't know. She gonna tell you. But this woman ran for president of the United States.
What?
In 2020.
Say what?
Okay.
That face was like,
what? Talk about being kingdom led, okay?
You better be kingdom led before you jump out and do something like that. You better be.
Jane,
and around the same time, I ran for office, and she was like, well, let me just take you on.
Yeah,
like,
let's see what's going on here. Yeah. No, I mean, Shirley, you're so sweet and so ebullient. I love SAT words, and that one is perfect for you. But I'm humbled. I'm humbled by the introduction and humbled to hear kind of in hindsight what the impact has been. We're just all out here trying to do what God wants us to do, and we pray that it has an impact that lasts. So to see the two of you moving so quickly as well in purpose and in creating this space for conversation where we can ask ourselves, what are we hearing, right? How is God wanting us to move? So I was literally just jotting down notes as you were talking, because it reminds me just of some of the lessons that I feel like I've learned over the years in terms of how God moves, how we move, how we should move, all those things, right? So I'm jotting them down. So dive in, and I always say these spaces are no holds barred. You guys know I like to keep it real, so please don't hold back on whatever you ask. But thank you, Leandra and Shirley. It's wonderful to be here.
Oh no, it really is a privilege.
I'm so excited and tickled to have you here. First of all, I'm like, this was a big deal to us, and I think a lot of this even was inspired through just our DGC, us just kind of always having you as this mentor to Shirley, who I met you through Shirley. And that's just how things roll, right? It's like you have the right people in your life and you're aligned with the right people moving forward. And I think, our theme this month was purpose. And that is something you drilled into our
mastered.
Right.
Got a whole PhD in purpose.
That's my baby.
It really is. But I when people say, what is your purpose in life? I think so many things went through my mind, because I could say, oh, I want to do this, or I wanted to do that, or I think I'm called for this. But for some reason, none of it really still felt like it stuck. Nothing really felt like it still was feeding me, or something that I was like, this is where I am going to thrive.
That's good.
But the way that you always really dove in, unpacked, had us unpack, we listened to other women unpack. It helped me figure out, what does purpose even mean? And what does that really mean to somebody? Because it's such a surface question to so many people that don't know how to answer that. And I know that Shirley, just please enlighten us in short. What does it mean when you ask somebody, what is your purpose in this life?
I'll start the same way I start when I'm talking to audience. I always say the best way to understand what something is to first understand what it's not, right? So you can get all these things out of the way, so that when I tell you what it is, it's not competing with all these other things you thought it was, right? So I always say purpose is not your title, your role, your profession, your industry, your talent, your skill, your gift, your ability. It's not even, and people hate when I say this, but it's so true, it's not even your passion. I know, dun, 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 right? So when people say, like, listen, I'm getting better at poker face, but I hang out with one of my besties, is also my hairstylist, Dolores, and she has no poker face, so my poker face has been getting weak whenever I'm with her. So when people say things like, you've got to follow your passion, I'm like, that's not it. Like, don't do that. Because passion, I always say, it was never designed to be a leader. It's a really bad leader, because passion, well, it's like we are. It's kind of flaky, right? You can feel passionate about something on a Monday. You can be all in, be hardcore, and then Wednesday be like, I'm over that. Right. We're even that way with people, right? Relationships, we're the same way, right? Like, we get over things. And so passion, it's not a bad thing. It was just, we just put it in the wrong position. Passion is designed to be a fuel, right? It's a fuel source. It does run out. That's why when you get burnt out, you say, I don't have a passion for this anymore, so it must not be my purpose. So you peace out. Right? Or you're passionate about it, so I've got to stay here because I love it, and the time is over. Season is up, right? So passion is the one thing we mostly confuse for purpose. Close second is our job. Maybe even job gets first place. We go, my purpose is to be a teacher. My purpose is to be a coach, and all that's wrong. All right. So now, drum roll. All right. Your purpose is not the thing you do. Your purpose is the thing that happens in others when you do what you do.
Slam
right?
That.
Right. And so what that also doesn't mean, let me get this out of the way, because this is a new development. Like we've only just recently gotten people, actually, I should say this. People have started ripping off that quote. Let me just take a little sip on that one.
Listen.
People have started ripping it off.
Jade.
This is a sidebar lesson. People have started ripping off that quote, not saying who it's from or that it comes from a whole book called Purpose the Remix. As a result, they're posting that quote. And this will preach right here. And people are misunderstanding it because it's out of context from the originator. So I just gave you, it's out of the context. I just gave you all that background. I started out telling you what it wasn't. And now I can also tell you what that quote doesn't mean. It does not mean that you are now slaves to people. It does not mean that you are not purposeful if you aren't connected to people. That's not what that quote means. But when that quote is taken out of context and put on other people's profiles, I'll read the comments and people are getting a whole anxiety attack. They're saying, listen, I'm a recovering codependent. This makes me feel like I'm not of any worth if I'm not working for people. If you read the book, the exact opposite is what I say. Purpose, when you uncover it, it makes it so you love people so much, you could care less about what they think about you. I love people too much to be stopped by people. Does that make sense?
Oh, man.
It's like if I know I'm here to serve you two, why am I going to make decisions based on what other people are thinking if I need to show up a certain way, sound a certain way, dress a certain way? You see, Shirley, we didn't know each other at that time. But when I came out there in the heels and the hair and the sequins, she was like, that's my kind of person right there. She knew. It was a whole vibe. We connected. Now, the person who has committed to wearing the navy blue suit either sees me and goes, oh, that's too much, or they go, oh my gosh, there's more. Right? But either way, I had to show up as me so they could be uncomfortable. Right? So they could be uncomfortable, but so Shirley could feel at home. Do you see? In both cases, I was the same. When you are codependent on people, I'll switch it up because I'm worried Leandra's not going to like this. So let me dumb this down. Let me get into my navy. I switch up because I'm worried about people. When I know that me showing up and being me will have an impact on people no matter what, because I'm in the life center of my purpose, I no longer care what you think. Even though I love you.
Tailoring to people specifically.
It's tailoring to purpose. I'm tailoring to purpose. So your purpose, if it's what happens in others when you do what you do. So for me, I always say I thought my purpose was to play that, black and white monster behind me, the piano. I grew up playing that thing. That's all I ever wanted to do. And my early career was doing exactly that. That's Beethoven opened up, right? That's all I did every day, all day. And so that must be my purpose. I spend 12 hours a day practicing. We spend all the money going to school and getting the lessons. This must be purpose, right? Or I had that really fancy residency. I spent all those years in med school. Purpose must be a doctor. Oh, I studied education. I got a PhD in African-American studies. Purpose must be teaching. No. Purpose is what happens when you, the teacher, have a room full of students and there's something that breaks out in them that never happens in a room with another teacher. Purpose is what happens in my audience, even though there are a gazillion other classical concert pianists, it's never going to happen in their audience because it's destined to happen in mine. So then you ask the question, what's happening in my audience that's not happening anywhere else? And so, long story very short, I was just putting on concerts in a different way. I was speaking to my audience. I was eventually being less fearful and daring to shake up the music a bit. And now my concerts go from classical all the way to rap, believe it or not, right? But I had to give myself permission, right? As you were saying, Leandra, to not switch it up for them, but to allow more of me to come out. That created a very unique experience that could not be compared. You want to get rid of comparison? You uncover purpose. So my purpose was not to play the piano. what I realized was my purpose was to activate audiences into becoming the biggest, boldest version of themselves possible. Here we go, kingdom wise, the version they were always created to be by God the Father. So what that means is I must show up big and bold. I must play a variety of music because I'm allergic to boxes. So if I'm called in to break you out of some boxes, you got to see that I've never known a box, right? Or I got to tell you how I broke out of each box, because that's really what happened. Was society had boxes. Oh, you're Black. Oh, you're female. Oh, you're Christian, right? Oh, you're classical. And all those boxes came with rules. So if you're classical, you can't have any, like right now, my nails don't look too close, but they're natural right now, right? Back in the day, this is the only way my nails were, because it was scandalous to wear nail polish when you were playing a classical music recital. Like, it was like, she's not serious. Girl, now my nails have diamonds on them, 3 different colors,
every color,
matching the logo of the company I'm with. This week, what am I rocking? A side mohawk on one side.
I loved it.
2 weeks ago, I had long blonde locks, right? Call me Shirley, okay? I will play with some hair. You hear me? And what I'm understanding is God's, in real time, he will begin to use you to look like what he has called you to do for others. Man. Right? So that being said, when you take that out of context, so any of you who are struggling with, I know in ministry, unfortunately, you have a lot of problems with intellectual property, with people stealing stuff, with, listen, they can pretend to be you all they want. They will never replicate the anointing that God has given you. So somebody can quote that purpose quote all they want, rip it out, not give me the credit. We're going to do stuff legally because we have to be good stewards of our business, but I'm not really going to lose any sleep over it, because you're getting yourself in trouble. All your followers are, getting up on you going, what does this mean? We don't agree. Now you're losing followers over the quote, but we're also watching that quote magnify people's following. People have gotten 100,000 likes over that quote, and they haven't given credit. And I'm here to tell you, your God will give you the credit. Stuff will be redeemed. I don't know who needs to hear it, who's felt unfairly treated out here. God's going to redeem it all. Let them rack it up. I check in on them. Oh, y'all doing real good under that purpose quote today. We just take a little record of that, take a screenshot. It goes in the legal file. Okay. Anyway, I'll take a pause.
No,
there.
we're here to give you flowers, Jade. You deserve all your flowers, Jade. So if we drop that quote, we will hashtag you.
I appreciate it. Tag your girl. Tag your girl. No, I love it.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
Just hearing you talk, like it's really bringing back some memories, making me tear up, because like that switch up is so real. The way I would shrink myself, and like your body, it does repel it. The way you said you're allergic to boxes, like your body repels it, but you're like, I gotta fit in.
Oh yeah.
I gotta get this job. So okay, I'll wear a navy blue suit. Like on every job interview, I mentioned in other videos that when I mentioned how to prepare for a job and like resume writing an interview. And listen, you see my makeup, right?
I got
glitter. I got 3 different colors. But on a job interview, black hair, nude lip, barely any eyeliner. Like I toned myself down to fit in with them and their culture. I mean, just the skin alone, I was already.
That's the thing. I think that's it, especially as Black women. And I know your demographic is diverse, but I think this will bear fruit for anyone listening. All of us, and I just told this to a room of mostly women of color, all of us code switch. We're masters at it, but all of us do it. We switch up our language, we switch up our behavior, we switch up our persona. And it's not that you don't use prudence, mind you, right? There are occasions where you say, okay, I may not go into Shirley 12.0 today. We're just going to take it in at an 8, right? It's still going to be more than most. And the key is what's happening in here. I can rock a black suit just like I can rock an orange suit. Right. So as long as that essence is still there, but what you talked about, the shrink, it's more than what's happening externally. It's the shrink. And I think purpose gives you this courage to know it's rarely ever going to be time to shrink. The only time we need to be shrinking is when we are decreasing so that he can increase. That's the only shrink I participate in. And I do that willingly. And you can call me the limbo champ on that. I'll get as low as I need to go when we're talking about God, because I know that anything that I'm able to do greatly is only because of him. So I try to get out of his way as often as possible and let him, run the show. But I'll tell you, he puts so much confidence in us when he knows that we truly know why we're here and who we're here for.
Yeah. That's so powerful. That is so powerful. And I think allowing the space for that, and that's what you're saying, you're the shrinking or watering down or whatever that falls into that category. I think it's just allowing him and making room for God. And with us making that room for him and not just always feeling like we do have to show up and play different roles, be a different character or whatever the case may be. Although at sometimes we feel like that's us rising to the occasion, but it's not always that, because then you have to be that person in that room or in that space over and over and over. And now you're exhausting yourself by playing all these different roles. And that's where and Jade, you did so many, we had so many segments on just being yourself. And we were always with women who talked about, well, I feel like, the boss that I'm talking to, he doesn't really like what I'm doing. So I do it like this. So to make him happy or whatever the case may be. And you've always told us to just be yourself first, because you're like you said, you show up and the way Shirley takes you, the way someone else takes you, it's going to be two completely things.
That's right.
All the way around every single time. So it's not about just always having to water ourselves down to be different, but to just allow space for God. And that's so important.
That's so good. And you also leaned into an area that I think, especially on your program, is important for your listeners. It's discernment, right? So once we know who we are, so when I say know yourself, what I really mean is know thyself as God has created you, not know yourself as who you want to be. So we started out, I wrote down, there's a difference between want and called, right? So roles and titles, we want them. I want to be CEO. I want this. I want. Well, our society is wired to cause us to want things 24/7 to the point where we don't even know. I've got so much stuff saved on Instagram, pants and shoes. Oh, I want that. I want.
What, really?
What? And then sidebar, I order it and the quality is bad. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that again. And I'm like, but these shoes might be different, right? This jacket, my husband's like, they got you again. I'm like, they got me again. Because you want it. You want it, right? And it looks, and the want starts in our eyes, right? I bought a suit off of Instagram that looked like a walking crystal with the balls they have at the disco ball.
Listen,
that
you had though.
Listen, but no, I haven't worn it yet because I said, I'm gonna order it. I'm gonna take the chance because it was a walking disco ball. I'm like, I know where I'm gonna wear this. I had it all. Girl, I ordered that suit, and what I thought was gonna be real glass on this suit was some reflective stickers. I'm gonna send y'all a screenshot.
It's the tackiness.
It was, one ply fabric and some reflective tissues on it. Reflective little stickers on it. Point is, we want. We don't even stop to say, do I need to want this?
Do I need it?
Should I want it? And so that's different from what you said earlier. Am I called to do it? That takes discernment because we're on information overload, sensory overload. Everybody's telling us what to want. And it takes time to say, God, what do you want today from me? And I know Shirley will know this because I used to get on her about this because we're all master planners here. And Shirley and I suffer from the same syndrome. I'm a few years ahead of her now. I've been recovering a little more than she has. But it's when God tells you something and you go, bet, I got it. I'm out, I'll take it from here. And then we will write a 20-step plan, print out a PDF playbook, right? And we will tell God how we're going to help him get to where he told us we were destined to go.
You go report to God and give God your plan.
I'm gonna let him know.
God your plan.
I got it, God. Because what the problem is, we forget when it says that we can have the desires of our heart. Okay. Well, what that really means is if we've been leaning into him, he's given us the desires. And whatever he's given us must come to pass. We flip that and we go under the, name it, claim it world. And we say, I want this. It's my desire. Now God, go make that happen. And he's like, I am not the lottery. Like, don't even talk to me like that. But he says, I had a purpose for me, for you, Jeremiah, since before you got here. I knew you before you were in the womb, called you, anointed you, appointed you to do these things. The rest of our life is finding out what the heck he knew before we were in the womb. So our prayer should be, God, what is it you knew before my parents even gave me a name? What is it you knew before I decided I wanted to play the piano? Now, you can trace that back. My initial dream to be a classical concert pianist was not faulty, but it was only part one, right? So most of us run on part one. We go to the Juilliards, the Peabodys, wherever we got to go, because I'm going to be a classical concert pianist. Well, somewhere in there, he goes, well, sort of, that's what we're going to do. And then he'll let you do it because he's funny that way. He's gracious. He's like, go play on the stages, play with the orchestras, get it out your system. And now we're going to make this whole left turn, right? And the left turn in the beginning, it hurts. But now when you understand it's a divine detour, what I try to work with women on is getting excited about the detour. I always say to you guys, now we're going to plan this, but don't marry it. Don't marry it yet. Just date it, because I know that I'm not God. And even as someone who may flow in prophecy, that by default says I only know part. By default, I only know part. So if I prophesy to you and it feels good, you're like, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. Okay, cool. Take it back to God and say, okay, but what part of this is for now? What part of this is for later? What is your first step? And I'm talking about this like an expert, but can I tell you, I am still mastering this. I'm much better now than I ever was. I'm very proud of where I've come, but I'll tell you, the discernment is daily. It is a necessary activity daily.
I learned that from you. Next steps. And this is why I love her so much, because I literally see everything externally, internally in Jade. So when Jade says it, I mean, I know it's God speaking through her, but I'm like, okay, yeah, pretty much that's final, because she's been through it. Yeah. I am so blessed to have a big sister. Literally, this is big sister right here, because she went through it and she's like, oh,
I can see it coming, right? So you know how we are. But we all can coach better than we live, right? I mean, because you can see it, as soon as Leandra, as soon as you joined Designer Growth Club, instantly you were effective. Both of you instantly were able to pour into others. That to me is the sign of a kingdom life, because you can join some of these programs and people are hoarding knowledge, or they're hoarding opportunity, or they're hoarding breakthrough. And that comes from a place of insecurity. But the two of you freely were able to speak into other people's lives. I mean, there were like calls where I could sit back and eat popcorn and let you guys just take it down. They got it, because what I want to do as a coach is not train people to be codependent on me, to not feel like, well, I can't move unless Jade says. No, my job is to make it so without a shadow of a doubt, you are hearing from God for yourself. That to me is a part of my purpose, is to help other people flow in the knowledge that they hear from God. Because while purpose doesn't change, the vehicle it rides itself out in will change. You guys didn't have a podcast 2 years ago, right? Purpose allows you to go, guess what? It's the season for a podcast. It's a season for a live event. And I give myself permission to play with God and explore with God in this season. You mentioned the whole presidential thing. Well, that was, God had to tell me to do that at a certain time. So people are now hitting me up in my inbox. Are you going to run right now? Please jump in the race. Where's Jade Simmons when we need her? Oh yeah, it was funny. 2024, that's what you're saying. But 2020, it was crickets. Girl, go sit down somewhere. You need to be running for the president of the PTA. Who do you think you are? And I'm talking about people who look like me and you. Can we keep it real? And then in our community.
Tight community, yeah.
Okay, that's a whole other thing. Let God define your community. Let not man, politics, political parties. They don't know you like your God knows you. And lastly, I would just say on that line, the biggest thing I learned there was he wants to build our movements. He wants to build our platforms, and he wants to build our communities, because they do not look like what we think they look like.
You are just such a breath of fresh air. I know that you do this. This is like so effortless for you. And it's every
you said
time
the right word.
I even hear you speak, it's just so empowering. And I think that's why it was always so easy to speak on, because you could take that same person, myself, and put me in a different room, and I might be a little bit quieter or set back or speak when I feel like it's my turn to speak. But for some reason, you create that space and you allow people to really, like, you're encouraging. It's almost like you're pulling it out of me without having to. And it's like, when you feel this urge, you feel like you got to say something. It's almost exciting to like let it out, because it's a revelation. These light bulbs go off, and then all of a sudden these pieces in the puzzle are fitting perfectly and everything's aligning. And then you slowly, like you just said, you're speaking to people because you want us to have our guidance with God, but you're allowing us to crack open different doors. And that's when God just bleeds into us. And then we're able to see things. Our perspective is completely sharpened and we see things differently. So it's almost like you keep saying, oh, this is part of my passion. You interrupted, thankfully, our segment we were just having. So it was just funny you came in, but we were talking about the topic was turning our purpose into profit.
That's why I was like, I'm late. I missed something. I'm
the teacher with the ruler, and you were like, we're gonna have to delete that whole thing.
I hope not. Don't follow passion. So bad. Oh, did y'all already say follow your passion? Let me clean it up for you. Here's what happens. Listen, so it's not all bad advice. Here's what happens. I can't believe that happened. So you follow passion's a bad leader, but don't throw passion away. We're just going to put it on a shelf right here, because when you follow purpose, your passion will follow you. Yes. So we just switched the position. So sorry. We just switched the position. But now we got it.
You put it so perfectly. Yeah. It's like, and it makes sense, Jade. It really it makes sense.
Always makes sense. When I speak to this woman, she always makes sense. I'm like, Jade, oh my God, I need a rest, but I'm not resting. What's going on?
Listen, you know what he will do? He will put you in spaces. You were saying this, Leandra, which, first of all, your accent is just the best thing in the world. When I hang with people for a long time, I instinctively, without knowing, start to imitate their accent. So my husband's going to be like, when did you come from Boston? Like, I can't do it yet. It'll come naturally. It'll start to leak out. So I promise I'm not mocking. It just starts to happen. My family thinks it's so funny. But the thing that I think is so powerful is if we believe what we say we believe, if we say we are here to go forth, right, and to proclaim who Christ is, to proclaim God's presence, to bring more people in his kingdom, you cannot be insecure about seeing other people win. Because if God told you to go forth, okay, and there are 5, 6, 7, 8 billion now people on this earth. You know how delusional you have to be to think that you're the only person called to reach all those billions? So you probably need to spend even more time unleashing others to go forth than you focus on your own go forth. I believe a part of all of our purpose and calling is to unleash others along the way so that, right, the harvest can be great. So the thing is, Shirley's saying, man, Jade, I vibe with Jade when she talks, I get it. That's because there are ears tuned to the frequency of the sound of our voices. Shirley's one of those ears that are tuned to mine. There are other ears that are tuned to hers, which means, this is what's wild, I can say something and think it's so profound, and people go, I don't really get that. And those of us, when we're married, we see this happen all the time. We tell our husband something and we're like, it's the best advice in the world. It's deep. I'm going to lay it out for you 1, 2, 3. And he's like, eh. And then he'll go and be like, Joe at work said I should do this, this, and this. And
I call that the Timon and Pumbaa.
Oh, say more. Help me out with it. Because I'm like, for real? Oh, yeah. But, when I would speak in schools, my early career as a pianist, I would do a lot of school assemblies. And I'd come in and do these fun assemblies for kids. And they were inspiring. And I'd say whatever I say. And the teachers would say, we've been saying that all year. You come in here for 45 minutes and they think you walk on water, right? It's because, and I tell this to coaching clients, sometimes the people closest to you aren't assigned to you. Now that you love them and you're the wife or you're the husband, whatever it is, and you're the mom. But I just found out my son is going to he's going to school early to sit in some guy's classroom because they love that teacher. And I'm like, I can't get him to get out of bed early because in this season, and shouldn't we be thankful, right? Thank God that if I can't reach him right now, and that's hard for the inspirational speaker to say, right? That you're on stage and you have thousands of strangers saying, I got my whole life. And your son's like, she all right. You know what I'm saying? Do you know who I am?
Like,
right? Oh my kids are like,
I don't want you to speak at my school.
Oh my gosh. Can you walk in? My kids are like, Mom, can I walk in without you? Can you just, and I'm like, do you know who I am? Right? And they're like, yeah, no, we don't get it. Right? And because everybody's not assigned to us. But we have to assume that
that was a whole word.
It's a whole word. That's a part 2. We need to have a part 2.
Don't worry, it's not you, everybody.
It's not you. I tell my husband all the time. I say, people pay me big bucks for this stuff. This pillow talk you're getting costs people some serious money. And he will notice, like, if my voice switches into coach, he's like, I don't need a session. I don't need a session. So all that to say, it is a blessing and an honor, right, when your voice is received. And because I know how powerful it is to have people receive my voice, I must assume it is equally powerful for other people to receive yours. So that means even if it's my platform and my program, that's the other word that just makes my eye go weak, right? Like all that my stuff. No, this is God's platform. It's God's ministry. It's God's gift. So that means I must open a door wide, right? To whomever I believe in that season has something else to deliver and offer. And we can have a whole other episode on mining your inner circles, watching who you keep close to you, not letting everybody.
I'm glad you're volunteering.
Right? Speaking, yes, of course. We need our own series, I think, at this point, right?
Like, I'm taking notes. She said at 12:39.
Write it down. No, write it down. I love it. No, because these are ongoing things and they have, how people say it, they have levels, right? So while I'm telling you, be open, share with people, you can catch me on another episode saying, hey, don't be telling everybody everything. Don't be letting everybody into your stuff. I mean, it just depends on, where we're going. And again, it goes back to that word of discernment, because God will tell you what season it is, even for your friendships. Yeah. There's a season literally to everything, and that applies to our lives individually. The good thing about purpose is it's all seasons. It's always good. And purpose, unlike passion, helping you clean this up a little bit, purpose never dies out. So that's the difference. It renews itself. So I can be dead tired, even a little bit sick, and go on a stage and speak into purpose to people, activate purpose in them. And for however long I got to do what I got to do, I have all the energy I need, right? God sustains you through it. And then you come off and you go, oh yeah, this is what I was born to do, And so, and what happens is it activates passion while you're in it. You must have passion. If the absence of passion is usually a good sign that you've either overstayed your welcome in a spot, or it's time to go. That's usually a good indicator. So passion is useful. God's given it to us. It's just designed to follow us. That's all.
Oh, goodness.
Now, see, I'm going to leave you guys who are all like, oh my God, that was good. And then my husband's going to be like, what's up? And I'm like, nothing.
We're supposed to be like all professional during this podcast, but I'm like,
no, you guys are great.
This is like my secret, I was trying to get in my coaching session while doing this.
Listen, when I'm serious, when I listen to you all, I literally, as you were talking in a minute, I've been writing my own notes. And I think that is the freedom that comes in a trust circle where that everybody here is just wanting each of us to be at our best and wanting us to get God's best. I think that unleashes powerful, combos like this one. So it's good. What else you got? What else you need?
My whole life. What are you talking about? I need my whole life. Because Jade has already gone through this, right? Like, I wanted to be a motivational speaker, right? Mm-hmm. I wanted to travel like Jade does. I want to wear the glittery suits. Mm-hmm. Like, I want
that disco outfit.
Come on. I'll send you mine.
I want to run for office. Like, I wanted to do all these things. And it was just so, like you said, effortless, Leandra, right? It's so effortless for her to speak into our lives. And yes, I know I'm assigned to you, right? Mm-hmm. I've told her, I've shared with her, I'm like, I had a dream. Like, we're supposed to live parallel lives. Like, I see it. So I am assigned to Jade. But you had said something earlier, going back to discernment. Yeah. One of the things that I had learned from you, and it was a gut check. Okay. Mm-hmm. First and foremost, thank you so much for the compliments that, Leandra and I are able to enter into DGC or the Facebook groups or whatever, and being able to like pour into people. But one of the things that I had learned from you is to use discernment when it's time to pour into people. Yeah. Is this the time?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to say this? Like, I wasn't checking in with God, period. I'm like, oh, yes, I'm going to just do motivational speaking here. And I would just pour into people. And I'm like, oh, you feel that way? Oh, well, let me give you some advice, or let me speak this to you, or let me give you some affirmations. And I was just going going and going. And I learned from you, pause.
Yeah. The pause is hard. The pause is hard. Listen, and as a musician, I can tell you, it's the silence that creates the drama. It's if I'm doing all the flashy stuff, that's exciting and impressive for about 20 seconds. But then it's the breaks and the quiet that really pulls the audience in. And usually anything I'm teaching, Shirley, is because I learned it the hard way. And the pause was hard for me in music. I played through the rest. My teacher used to always say, you rushing through the silence. And I'd be like, we don't need that silence. The good stuff's on the other side of the silence. Right. So I had to learn that even in music. And you'll always see there's usually a spiritual parallel with whatever is happening in the natural. Right. The pause is so important now because if we don't learn how to practice it, it could lead to peril. So a good example would be Joseph, right? Dude was talking about all his dreams as soon as he had them. Y'all gonna be bowing down to me. It's gonna be a whole party. And they're like, no, thank you. Right. So sometimes
in fact, we're gonna sell you into slavery.
Sometimes we share too soon. He wasn't wrong. The vision was right. Yeah. But I believe now we can work it out a couple of different ways because of how things worked out. But I think the lesson for us is be careful when you share what God shares. Now, those of us, which I believe are the two of you as well, who are called to speak into people's lives and prophesy over them, this is where it gets really tricky. Because sometimes God will tell you all sorts of stuff about people you did not ask him to know. He will let you know, put their business in the street with you, right? And so I'm on the prayer team at church, and so I'll be up at the altar and people will come. And as they're talking, I bet you guys have experienced this. They're telling me one thing. It's coming at me, horizontally. But I'm hearing something while they talk. It's coming from God vertically. So some of that is, I hate to use some of that is the BS, right? He'll show me, no, that's BS. That's what God says to me. I don't know how he talked to y'all, but he says.
Let me let you know, God speaks to me quietly
hilarious. Yes, he is. And Jesus, if you go back and like really look at Jesus' words, he was low-key shade master. Okay. Jesus was slinging shade all day long, and some people caught it and some didn't. So I believe that my skill with
actually I can see it.
Oh, he was so shady. He was so shady, right? And so
we call it parables.
Yeah, or parables. But he was like, no, yeah, he had some shade. So when I think about when people come to the altar, he's telling me stuff. Some of it, I had to learn this, was just so I knew how to pray. Some of the stuff he was telling me, they might not even know yet or have come to terms with. And so for me to blurt that out could be embarrassing to them, could create distance, wouldn't allow them to receive what I'm praying. So even in that, those of you who are listening who are coaches and ministers, he's sometimes going to give you 100%, but only expect you to share 20. So there that word discernment comes in. God, what of this do you want them to know now? And why I say it can cause peril in our own lives. My husband always says, you always think everybody's going to react the same way you react. I would get so shocked when people didn't do something they said they were going to do, and he would go, that's because you're judging them by how you do stuff, right? And he says, not everybody's going to do it that way. And sometimes you saying the wrong thing, even if it's real, right, or true, sets people off and disallows them to do what they would have done if you hadn't told them whatever you told them, right? And so that pause is huge. And I know, Shirley, I remember the moment you're talking about. It can make us feel rejected if someone says, hey, not so much. It's not because we don't want to hear what you have to say. It's that sometimes the people in the room are so full, you're wasting your words. And the word of God tells us not to, let pearls fall, right? And so sometimes when I coach, I will say now, I'm a much better coach now than I was 10 years ago. 10 years ago in the first call, I gave you your whole 20-year plan. Listen, I can see it. And I saw people, Leandra, 100 times bigger than they saw. Like people say, I see dead people. I see big people. I see big people. So I'm like, oh my God. And Leandra, you're going to have a media studio. It's going to have this and a global network. And the people will leave the call like, and then on call number 2, I'm like, so what did you implement? What'd you do?
So you already have
did you get it started? LLC? Where's your LLC? Where's your trademark? And they were just like, whoa. And so what I realized was they were giving me their baby, right? I call it their purpose baby. And I was taking the baby, dressing it up, getting them circumcised, whatever he needed. I got all the things done. Baby came back dressed with a high school diploma.
Boss baby.
Yes, boss baby. And then I'd give them back to you and go, okay, run with it. Well, you didn't get to dress them. You didn't pick out the colors. You don't recognize this baby anymore because I snatched it, is what I said. I used to snatch babies and then give them back to you. Come on, that thing hurt me when I got that. And I couldn't.
That hurt me.
It hurt because I'm giving them good info. And I probably, as someone who flows in prophecy and word of knowledge, probably was speaking truth. But there was peril in giving all of that at once because they were still like, I'm just dealing with a season of depression and trying to get out of bed. And you're talking about, I was supposed to go start a media studio. That makes them more overwhelmed than when we got on the call.
Yes.
That made me overwhelmed.
Exactly.
Just even thinking about
I've had those moments.
But that's me natural, right? That's just thinking about it. Well, I'm wired that way. I'm what you call a fast start, right? You tell me something, you don't got to finish the sentence. I have got it. It is implemented, right? That's just how I'm wired. It doesn't mean that everyone is wired that way. And so I feel like my coaching got better when I first understood, just because I could see it. I ran into an old client who's a good friend, and she was one of the first to tell me, Jade, if I can't see it, I can't do it. She's like, I know you see it and I believe what you see, but I can't see it for myself. And I'm a speed demon, so I want everybody to move like it was yesterday. And it would frustrate me when 3 weeks would go by and they hadn't done anything we talked about, right? And so that pause is not just for us, right? It's for the people who are called to us. You think about how patient Jesus was, right? I mean, you really think about how patient and I always say, y'all better be glad I'm not God, because we'd have had 6 floods by now. Listen, come on.
I burned down all the villages.
So what?
Sodom and Gomorrah.
I'd be like, you know what? Nah, y'all ain't listening. Yeah. Let's start over. I'm telling you, right? And most of us would be the same. We don't have. That's why one of the fruits of the Spirit is long suffering, and because
it's like you just listened to our previous podcast.
Really?
I said if there's 2 jobs I'm not applying for, it's God and the president.
Oh, that's good.
God and the president, and she.
but and listen, and I every time I read that, I'm so sorry. Is that me? I'm sorry. I even read your thing about making sure I had notifications turned off. I had it turned off.
Yeah, but you got children in school. It's okay.
No. Okay. All right. There we go. So that whole like understanding that people needed time, they needed patience, and now I'm seeing them move faster. Now you want to really get your feelings hurt when you're a coach. You coach somebody for 3-4 years, trying to get them to make just 2 or 3 good moves, right? Then they finally go coach with somebody else and they're zooming. And you're like, what? But what I understand is I was a part of the season that was tilling the ground. I was a part of the season that was laying the foundation. I don't take up, that used to bother me so much. I don't take offense to that anymore.
Do they at least call you back and say?
Oh, they always do. They always do. They say, oh my God, I'm finally doing this. But I get it. I get it. And now I'm learning to coach in a way that people can move faster. But it's like reverse psychology. Your clients have to feel like it's their idea. When they see it as their own. And it's not manipulation. It's asking the questions that let them come up with the answers. What I realize is when I come up with the answers, it gives them confidence in me as their coach. It's important. You see where I'm going? When they come up with the answers that I know they have in them, it gives them confidence in themselves. And then when they can hear from God, it gives them confidence in Him. I would much rather them have confidence in Him and confidence in themselves any day over just an empty confidence in me. I appreciate it. I'm flattered by it. I'm honored by it. And I want to be a good steward of that confidence. But my job is always to point them back to, am I hearing for myself from Him? I mean, you want to look at all the stuff going wrong in the world, especially where the church is concerned. It's because we're not in the Word of God for ourselves. We're not praying for ourselves.
Correct.
No. You guys are hilarious.
Because I just know so many things, and I like Shirley to talk, and then I'm like, I want to make sure I like to make sure everybody.
I try to get as much as I can out of her.
Got something, so go ahead.
Yeah. What you got?
No, you had just said something when it came to the coaching thing and being able to talk to your people, but now it's just kind of left.
That's okay. There was something that I remembered at the beginning that I don't know if people would have caught this, and I've never said this before, but you talked about calling me up, finding me after you saw me speak in Worcester. And nobody's going to believe I'm ever going to say this, but they'll believe this. I have a problem asking for help. Like God had to really, really help me with asking for help. And I still revert. If I ask for help, if I call the house and say, hey, I'm coming in, I got a bunch of bags, and then they take forever to come out and help, never mind. I got it. I'll do it myself, right? That's my default. And you mentioned reaching out to me and asking. Here's what I would love to give confidence for. So Shirley asked me, she reached out because she was running for office. And I think I must have either just finished running or mentioned I was running or something. So she saw a connection there. She reached out. What she didn't say was the same week, maybe a week before she reached out, God had been sitting with me. And He said, I want you to serve women like they did not serve you during the campaign. He said, I want you to support people like how you were not supported. I want you to do unto others what was not done to you. Because I was feeling some type of way after that thing. I was like, okay, I'm seeing some things here. I mean,
duly noted.
Oh, it was so duly noted. That was that was on my tattooed on my forehead for 20, and this look right here. I mean, like all year. And he had to tell me, because I had been so busy before COVID and before the campaign, that I didn't even have time to mentor, right? I had a coaching program, but to personally, mentorship to me is the whole person. That's, you talk to people about their personal life, their physical, emotional, that's mentorship. And so I had made the time to do one-on-one mentorship, and I had no one-on-one coaching programs. So he started talking to me, I want you to support women in ways that you have not yet been supported. The next week, Shirley asked. So what I need you to understand is Shirley's yes, Shirley's yes was put into place before she even knew to ask. Shirley has like 6 PhDs and something else, I don't know, is a brilliant woman who saw another brilliant woman on the stage. She could have responded in jealousy, comparison, pride, and ego. She should have said, I'm just as fly as her. I don't need her help. She could have said all of that subconsciously and not ask. So note those things I just mentioned: pride, jealousy, comparison, too much self-confidence, because our confidence should be mostly in him, by the way. And so all of those things couldn't be at play for her to be obedient in the ask. Because she was obedient in the ask, she allowed me to be obedient in the response. Had God not talked to me and I decided in advance to do what he said the week before Shirley asked, I would have been out of alignment, because I would have said, oh, sweetie, you're great, but I don't have any time. And I would have kept on moving, right? Shirley and I were knitted. This is what I call a divine detour, a divine encounter. We were knitted because we were listening upward and we were being obedient. And what I will say is that asking is a superpower. And I believe, that's what I've never said that before. Asking is a superpower. And I do believe in this season, especially amongst women, God is calling us to ask for help, to ask for partnership, and to collaborate. This is Lone Ranger Maverick telling you this, okay? I prefer since kindergarten to do everything on my own. I don't want to worry about nobody else and their slow selves, okay? Since literally kindergarten. And so God, when you hear
I
me,
bet she has a story in kindergarten.
Listen, I didn't even do nap time while those slackers were sleeping. I was under, the 3-part mats. I used to make a little tent and I used to read books. I did not believe in naps.
They were
Slackers. What are we doing here?
Oh, 4 years old.
Oh, come on. And I was reading and stuff. I'm like, what are y'all? Nap time. Cookies.
A born leader.
No, but all I was gonna say is just, my point is, if I, who prefer to be alone, even as people will see me on stage, I'm an extreme extrovert on stage, but in reality, I love being alone. I even have to work as an ambivert to make sure I stay present for my family, because I can go for hours just on my own. I don't have the emotion of, I've never really experienced loneliness. I never feel alone. I have to make myself participate, right? You can't tell that from stage, but I'm just being really honest. So to say that, if you hear me saying, I believe this is a season where God is not just suggesting, but requiring partnership. He's wanting us to get over ourselves in this season and to really lean into other people and what they are building, because I do believe it's all connected. So any of you who have been hiding out and not wanting to do what he's asked because it's going to require people, I'm telling you to get over yourself now, because he is doing the thing he has called you to. Just a prophetic word here. The thing that he is calling you to and to who are listening in, is so big and mighty that it will take a movement. And I believe he is teaching us how to build movements that can overtake communities, cities, and nations. I believe these are the people he's calling to lead the world in this season. I believe there are presidential callings on our lives, leadership callings, but they cannot be done alone. They must be done in partnership. And I believe purpose flowers best when we're united with other people operating in the life center of their purpose.
Do you see why we love her? Are you serious right now? Even just that little nugget, when she said, like she isn't here, but when she said that even though she's an extrovert on stage, she prefers being alone. And she actually has to go out of that comfort zone to be with other people. I saw myself.
You do. Yeah, I bet you do.
And I've never been able to verbally say that. I didn't even know that was a thing until you said it. And I was like, yeah, duh. Like, I just immediately connected with that. And I was like, and again, you don't know these things. That's why you have to surround yourself with other people. You don't know these things about yourself.
That's
and
good.
God will use people like Jade, people like Leandra to tell you about yourself. Not that there's anything wrong.
No. And it's not, it's because it's not better to be an extrovert or introvert, but the reason the Bible tells you to know yourself is so that you can use discernment to make adjustments, right? As a wife, as a mother, I can't be by myself all the time. But as a person who needs it, now here's where the courage comes in. I had to tell my husband years ago, there are seasons where I would check myself into the hotel that's only 5 minutes away and stay there for 24, 48 hours because I could get a ton of work done without the interruption, right? And to them, it's not interruption. They're just coming in to say, hey, love you. Want to watch family time? Want to watch a movie? And it's kind of like, no, in the middle of writing this book, get out, and you can't say that. And you stop because you're a good mom, you're a good wife, and you leave what you're doing and you go and be with them because you want to serve them. But God had to say, I love that you're serving your family, but I'm going to still need you to find a way to serve me too. Right? And so it's the balance, it's the discernment, it's the honesty with our families. And then it's the sacrifice because, and I please, anybody listening, I love my family. But there is, as a person who, so here's who I envy. I envy Paul in the Bible. Paul was never married. And all he did, Jesus, oh my God. But you know what? They could spend all their time in the Word of God, or in Jesus' case, being with God and being on mission. They didn't have to check in. I was going to say cook dinner, but my husband cooks. He would laugh if he heard me say, he would come in here. You don't cook no dinner. My husband is the cook. But I get a mean takeout. My takeout game, what is next to none, okay? But I give in ways, I overly give when it comes to counsel and encouragement of my children and planning for their future and encouraging my husband. That's how I give. But I do envy that Jesus could pull away whenever he wanted. I envy that Paul could just write. I feel like I could write as much as Paul did if I had that time, right? Wow. And so I have to find that balance in my life that allows me to feed that part of my soul that needs to be in purpose, needs to be doing God's work. And you'll know, like you said, nothing's wrong. Lastly, I'll say, you'll know that God has wired all of us differently. People think I'm joking when I say, so morning routine is the hardest thing for me. What we're going to eat for breakfast, what we're going to pack for lunch. Did anybody let the dog out? Oh my God. Mundane stuff is so hard for me. I would rather sit in a room and figure out what to do with Israel and Palestine or Russia and Ukraine than do the daily grind of the morning routine. How crazy does that sound? It sounds crazy if you're surrounded by people that will tell you you're crazy, you're too big for your britches. It's on point if I know that God has called me to be a part of solving those things. It makes sense that my brain is more wired to figure that out than to have to make the family calendar one more month, right? Like that stuff's hard for me. So pay attention to what comes naturally to you and what seems hard for you. Don't compare yourself because this mom is brilliant at, like these moms who make the lunch where the sandwich looks like Mickey Mouse and
That's Leandra,
okay?
Oh
my gosh. Is that you?
Right now.
Oh
I can't stand her.
You love
I
that?
prepare
Like, do you
myself
like
for
the morning? Like, you like the whole, like the routine and everything?
I like to say I get to instead of I have to.
I love it.
It's like I get to,
Yep.
you know, I feel like God made me women,
Yes.
in a sense, not everybody, but
No,
like
no,
to
no.
be moms. Like
Yeah.
we're supposed to be a mom, I'm supposed to be a wife. So I literally try to put it in that order because I
That's
still
good.
want to be
That's
successful.
good.
I still want to thrive,
That's
but
good.
I don't put it first. But what you're talking about is completely different
Well,
from
no,
success and all that. You're trying to figure out world problems.
no, but there's no
My
level.
brain out like you all just
in
better
your
get along,
household.
or
Yeah.
you go
Your
stay
household don't
alone.
care about no
Yeah,
world
they don't. They
problems.
can care less of what's going on in Ukraine, and I'm up at listening to all the podcasts on it and everything. But here's the difference, Leandra. So where we need to learn from that, that reframe is important. I get to, and a couple years ago, I was going through a serious period. It wasn't quite a depression, but it was definitely, my mornings were hard, and I used to love mornings, and I used to love Mondays, and they were suddenly very hard. And God gave me that reframe. You get to serve your family. You get to clean your home. You get to, right? And that has given me the grace. Here it is, right? It's given me the grace to do those things and find joy in it. I'm being honest with you about how I originally feel. And if I could choose, I still want to work on Ukraine versus fix the sandwiches. That being said, over the years, we've been blessed to be able to do things like hire a nanny or hire the housekeeper. And so what has happened is, with our nanny, she does a lot of those things. And then I have the energy and the capacity to simply love on the family in the way that I most naturally love on them. But then when I still get to do the mornings, right, with them. And we on purpose have her come at a certain time because we don't want to give up that proximity, right? We don't want to give up that power, and our nanny is incredible. But it is still, I say that all women will birth, right? Because some may physically not be able to have biological kids, but I do believe that's our unique gifting, is that we can birth. And so we get to birth kids, we get to birth projects, we get to birth books, we get to birth movements, we get to birth men. Sidebar, right? We get to birth all these things that are really powerful. And I think what you're teaching us is to remember that it's a privilege. We get to serve.
It is a privilege.
But you're one of those ones that'd be on my love-hate list. I'm like, look at this one on
you.
Instagram making the grapes into smiley faces. And
oh
gosh,
even sticky notes. I'm like,
yeah, I leave a sticky note. I'm good with a Sharpie. I can do a little something.
10 years,
yeah.
I do.
But I'm real excited about school lunch. I'm real excited about that. Okay, so my daughter has good, they have good school lunch. And so I'm happy on the days the calendar says school lunch. I'm like, yes, But, anyway, look, we can't be 100% at everything, right? And that's why we lean in and we get to learn from each other. And
we all have our own strengths.
We do.
And our weaknesses don't mean that they're our faults. It just means that we're stronger in other areas than whatnot. But I think the point of the matter is to go with what comes easy to you.
Pay attention.
In a sense of that's where you're going to thrive. And this is just a season, Jade, of being a mom.
That's right.
Right now, of being, you're always going to be a wife, but this is just a season. I tell that to Shirley too. I'm like, listen. Like soon, it's going to be.
They're growing up so fast. Yes.
So this is a season. This is where we're at right now, and this is the job that God called us to do in this moment. So we have to fulfill that. We have to do that first. And I know that I have no doubt in my mind that the both of you are incredible. You don't need to be a Pinterest mom to do that. So,
I know, but we're also perfectionists, type A personalities, overachievers.
And our husbands would like us to be Pinterest.
I asked my husband, and he swears he's good, but I'm always like, you sure? But it's like you said, we have other strengths, right? And I know my husband would say he wouldn't trade me for the world, right? Because of the things that I bring to the table. And I'm thankful for that, because I know that must be a kingdom union that was set.
Yes.
But it also, when you talk about those strengths, Leandra, it also means that there are people like you who will inspire people like me to remember the gift, to remember that we get to. And that's why I say purpose alleviates comparison, right? As much as I joke about the perfect lunches, I know in my heart, I'm okay that I don't do that because I'm still loving my kids and honoring my kids. But seeing you do that inspires. It says you can always do a little more. You can always every 10 days do the smiley face or whatever. It just reminds us what's possible. And I think that's operating truly in the image of God, because he's a God of possibility, so,
Ooh, girl,
so thank
send
you
you
for that.
a Pinterest.
Yes.
I'm gonna challenge you. I'm gonna challenge the both of you.
Once a month. I love it.
Thank
love
you
it.
so much. This
has
perfect.
been a fruitful conversation as always. I was holding back the tears. I was like, she's talking to me.
Perfect.
She had a camera in my bedroom.
Well, I want to thank you for having me and for giving me the extra time and then for letting me crash your last segment. And thank you for the inspiration. This is a tough season for us. I don't know anyone that it hasn't been a tough season in some way, shape, or form. And so to have these conversations and be reminded that, oh yeah, purpose is still working, is very, so thank you both as well for the inspiration that you've given me and the encouragement you've given me today as well.
We just love you, Jade.
Love you too,
truly
ladies.
do. We aspire to be so amazing like you.
Listen,
and when you drop that comment, it's going to be hashtagged.
Yeah, and hey, and go ahead, and we need to set up episode 2. And talk about all the other things we haven't got to. So just I'm inviting myself to be a regular recurring guest at some point. But I just
you want to be the host by all means.
I'm so inspired by what you've done, and I just want to just say blessings over not only these conversations, but whatever else God is building beneath the surface. I stand by what I said. There's a movement in many of us, and I can't imagine that voices like yours will go unheard. So I thank God in advance for where he's taking you and the people that he is encouraging and inspiring through you. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of that today.
Yay! So much love to you, ladies.
Thank you so much, guys.
This was a blessing. We love you so much, Jade.
I love you too.
You're so awesome. Y'all, contact your companies, book Jade if they haven't. Like, they are missing their whole life, okay? She's got 2 books.
2 books.
What are the names of the please?
Yes.
I have one.
Purpose the Remix is what we've been talking about, and that's a re-understanding of purpose and how it works. I have 3 books in a way. My first book that we're talking about is Audacious Prayers for World Changers. It's a 31-day devotional. It doesn't matter when you start reading it. You can start reading it in the middle of the month, and it's always going to line up for you spiritually. Yeah. We've been so excited about that. So those are my 2 main books, and you can learn more at jadesimmons.com. I can't wait to connect with you.
She got a whole media company.
Yeah,
baby. Don't play.
But I'm not running for president, so don't hit me up. I'm sitting this one out, guys. Love you guys so much. Thank you for having me.
Love you
so much.
Right.
Thank you.
Have
so
a good
much.
day.
God bless you, everyone.
Bye.